One day there was a poor man who was on his way home from work. As he was driving along, his mind was consumed with worries. His wife at home was eight months pregnant, and he needed $500 to take her to the doctor. He was worried about what will happen because he simply did not have the money. He was worried about what was going to happen, what was going to take place, where the money was going to come from. And as he's there tossing this thought back and forth in his mind, all of a sudden he saw an old lady stranded on the side of the road, and he could clearly see that she needed help. So he pulled up in front of her car, got out, and he could see that initially she was frightened as she was standing out there in the cold. So he went up to her and said, "Don't worry, I'm here to help you. Why don't you wait in the car where it's warm, and I'll have your tire fixed in no time. And by the way, my name is Brian." So when he was able to change the tire, the old lady couldn't thank him enough for coming to her rescue. Brian just smiled, and of course the lady asked him how much did she owe him for changing her tire. Brian never thought twice about being paid. To him, this was not a job. This was helping another person who was in need, and he knew to himself that Almighty Allah would bless him in ways that he could not even imagine. So he said to her that if she really wanted to pay him back, the next time she saw someone who really needed help, she should give that person the assistance that they needed. And then Brian said to her, at that point, when you're helping someone else, simply think of me. Eventually the old woman drove off, and a few miles down the road, the lady saw a small cafe. She decided to go in to grab something to eat. The waitress came over, and immediately the lady noticed that the waitress was nearly 8 months pregnant, and that she was having a really rough time moving around. But in spite of the challenges, she never let the strain and the aches change her attitude. She was polite. She greeted her with a smile, and the old lady wondered how someone who had so little could be giving a stranger so much. And then at that point, she remembered Brian. After the lady finished her meal, she paid with $100 bill. The waitress quickly went to get change for the $100 bill, but by the time she got back, the old lady had slipped out of the door. So the waitress wondered where the lady could be. But at that point, she noticed that there was something written on the napkin that was left there on the table. Tears came down her eyes when she read what had been written, what the lady wrote on the napkin. She said, "You don't owe me anything. I have been there too. Someone once helped me out the way I am helping you out. If you really want to pay me back, here is what you do. Do not let this chain of love end with you. Pass on the good that was done to you." When she moved the napkin, under the napkin there were 4 more $100 bills. She went home that night thinking, how could the lady have known that she and her husband needed the money? With the baby due next month, it was going to be really hard. They were in desperate need of going to the doctor. She knew how worried her husband was. And as she lay there sleeping next to her husband, she whispered to him, "Don't worry, Brian. Everything is going to be all right." If you understand the story, you will also understand the moral. The moral, quite simply, is what goes around comes around. You do good, and quite simply, you will get good in return. And that is a familiar saying that we know about. What goes around comes around. This phrase quite simply encapsulates the idea that the consequences of our actions, whether positive or negative, have a way of returning to us in the future. It suggests that our deeds and behavior tend to create a cycle that eventually catches up with us. The essence of this principle is that our actions have repercussions. And the energy that we put out into the world will ultimately find its way back to us. If we engage in positive actions, such as helping others, such as being kind and showing compassion, we are more likely to attract positive outcomes and experiences in return. Conversely, if we engage in negative actions, such as hurting others, being dishonest, disobedient, and acting with ill intent, we can only expect negative consequences to come our way eventually. The idea of cause and effect can also be observed in various aspects of our daily lives. If you think about our personal relationships, if we treat others with respect and love, we treat others with understanding, we are more likely to receive the same treatment in return. On the other hand, if we mistreat, if we deceive others, it is likely that trust and harmony will be disrupted from our lives. We may find ourselves facing similar treatment from others. This principle can extend beyond personal relationships as well. It can also be applied to professional settings where honesty, integrity, and hard work are generally rewarded and contributed with success. Conversely, unethical behavior, laziness, or cutting corners may lead to negative consequences, such as a damaged reputation or missed opportunities. So as you go through the course of your life, it's very important that you be mindful of the cycle that you start. If you start a good cycle and you inject positivity into the world, that is what is going to come right back to you. On the contrary, if you inject negativity, that is what is going to come right back to you. The general principle holds that over time, our actions shape our lives and influences the world around us. How much Allah mentions in the Quran that chaos and corruption, they all become apparent upon the face of the earth because of what the hands of man has achieved. So be mindful of the energy that you put into the world. You can create a positive ripple that then extends beyond yourself and contributes to a more harmonious and compassionate society. And then on the contrary, you can also put something in motion that will create a lot of negativity, a lot of harm and destruction within our communities and within the circles that you reside around. In conclusion, the saying, what goes around comes around, reminds us that our actions have consequences that reverberate back to us eventually. This concept underscores the importance of ethical behavior, kindness, and accountability. By embracing this principle, we can strive for a better future and can contribute to a more interconnected and just world. Do good, good will come back to you. Continue to strive for what is better. Better opportunities, better doors will be open for you in this world.